Hello everyone and welcome to the Invincible podcast. I'm hosting today, as you can see, with, unfortunately, Julian. How are you, Julian? Are you all right?
I thought you were going to introduce me as my main man.
I was going. Well, I was.
I was getting quite excited about.
Yeah, then I changed your mind about that because you'd be on about it all the time. So, how are you?
I'd like to say perfect in every way, but I've got a bad shoulder.
We'll talk about it in a minute. And well, as you can see, I'm hosting, so we've had to find a replacement, and who better than the brother? And we've got Laurie with us. How you doing, Laurie? All right?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good. Now, the reason Robbie's not here, did you know this?
No.
Right.
He's just been ignoring my calls the last 2 days.
Well, ignoring your calls, and there's a reason why he's been ignoring your calls. He's gone away. He's gone to Dubai. There we go, look. And didn't tell me, didn't tell you, I don't think he told you, Laurie, did he?
He told me, but very late in the day. Or
he's coming to dark horses out, Robbie, isn't he? Like, you know what I mean? He's sort of keeping things very quiet.
When did he go to Dubai? It must have been Wednesday.
I know, no one seems to know. He sort of, be about. We actually arranged this. He actually put in the group, if you remember rightly, see you at 2:00. I'm changing it because of the Champions League draw.
Yep.
That's the last I've heard of him.
Yeah.
And he's now disappeared.
He's disappeared,
off to Dubai.
Disappeared with my pressure washer as well, which is why I was phoning him for the last 2 days.
Well, he ain't good. Look, his feet are up. Look, you know, he ain't worried about your jet wash, is he? Like, you know.
Obviously, Dubai seems to be the favoured destination at the moment.
Well, he seems to be going there quite a bit. Like, you know? Is there a reason why he keeps going to Dubai?
Well, only he could tell us that.
Well, he doesn't even tell us that he's going, so I don't think he's going to tell us the reasons why.
Yeah, so there is certain advantages of Robbie not being here.
Oh, let us know what they are, Julian. Are you bold enough to say that?
No, are you?
No. I said it before we come in, like, you know. So feel free. Feel free to say it.
No, it'd be more of an open conversation. Maybe some of us will get more chance to speak. Potentially.
What are you saying in that Robbie talks a lot? Is that what you're saying?
He talks slightly more than Laurie does. I think let's look at the benefits and the positives. Laurie gives us more chance to respond. Would that be fair?
I don't know. I'm not going to slag Robbie off when he's not here. Like, you know, I'm going to be really honest with you. Like, you know, I quite like Robbie. Like, you know, with what you said downstairs, I'm not too sure if you like him these days.
No,
like,
I do like him.
Me and Laurie were a little bit worried about that, weren't we, Laurie? Like, you know, we were a bit worried.
Right, swiftly on. What's the first subject?
Swiftly on. Right. Well, we've got to talk about it. The draw. Before we go into the draw, I'm going to say the best thing about the draw for me today, I was so excited for that when it came out today. It was like a really magnificent feeling. And I feel like Arsenal are back. That draw today felt like we was back in it, like, you know. But it was like 8 clubs all going for it, like all in the same hat. I thought there was a bit more excitement to the draw than perhaps the last one when you can't get this one and that one. It was proper draw today.
Yeah, we're properly back into the Champions League. I mean, every single one of those 8 teams is capable of winning it, including us.
Even Dortmund?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I've seen Dortmund live. Their stadium is pretty impressive. The crowd there are absolutely amazing. I don't think I've heard a louder atmosphere. And the other thing that you have to appreciate, for me, they call it the Champions League, but it's a cup competition. And we're now, you know, just a few games away from getting to the final. So
yeah, this is definitely the business end.
Yeah.
I must admit, as soon as that game ended against Porto, you start salivating about the draw, don't you? You think, now, because as you said, Jim, this is the real business end of the tournament now.
Yeah, without a doubt. And of course, we drew Bayern Munich. First out, I had a feeling we'd be first out. I don't know how you felt about that. Like, you know, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because it meant that we had 7 teams to choose from. But we can talk about it like we pulled out Bayern Munich, come out. We're at home first leg now. Yeah. Is it an advantage? Bayern Munich, of course, can't have no fans for that home game. So that's another question I want to throw at you now quickly. What happens with those 3,000 seats? Do Arsenal take them up and have a full stadium?
They do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, which gives us a slight advantage. But then if 57,000 people are shouting, you should be able to quiet and the other 3,000. I think is what we did against Porto. Is when the crowd are up for it, that 3,000 wouldn't become insignificant, but it does drown them out. So I think it's still more of an advantage for Bayern to be playing at their grounds in the second leg. So when I saw Arsenal come out first, my instant reaction was, oh, that's good because we're first out the draw. And then within a nanosecond, I realised that it's the other way round because we're playing the first leg.
Yeah,
I think it's a disadvantage.
What about you, Lo? Are you happy with the draw? Like, Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I'm happy with the draw. I mean, I must admit, we spoke about it. We did a show previously, and we went round the table, the guys, the presenters, myself, Turkish, James, and Cecil, and it was interesting. I would have opted for PSG if I could have had my perfect chance to choose an opponent. I didn't want Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid or Man City, for obvious reasons, Man City. But listen, the others, I would have taken any of those. I would have preferred PSG only because currently I consider Mbappe to be the best player in the world, and I just think that tie, Arsenal versus PSG, had a certain ring to it, a real glamour ring to it. England versus France as well, I thought that would have been great. But hey, the Bayern, I'll take that.
Julian, what about yourself?
I was hoping for Dortmund as the first one that I'd go for.
Why? When you said that you think they
because I think even though I think Dortmund are capable of winning it, I think of the 8 teams in there, obviously the 7 that Arsenal could have drawn, is that they were potentially the weakest. So that was for me. Yes, I'm looking for a glamour trip, and I'm really looking forward to whoever I see. But ultimately, you go to a quarter final because you want to go to a semi-final. So the most
is weakest the right word though?
Yeah.
Because when you use the word weak, you're invoking a certain level of overconfidence, I think.
Well, it's the
I think least challenging or
it's the weak
or least strong.
You can word it whichever way you want, but ultimately, when you get 8 teams there, you've only got to look at the odds, and the odds are the Dortmund are the more outsiders.
Let's change it around then, like we're the bookies now, like
yeah.
Who are we putting us after that 8?
In terms of your rankings?
Yeah, who are you saying are favourites to win it? Bearing in mind that
Man City and Real Madrid were the favourites.
Before the draw, Real Madrid and Man City were the favourites, but they're clashing now. So one of them's odds would have gone down. So who would you be saying is the favourite?
I must admit, if you ask me as a neutral, okay, I would say that Man City are the strongest team, pound for pound, of the 8 teams in the draw.
Even with the draw with Real Madrid?
Yes, I would. I would say that they are the...
Interesting.
And then Real Madrid would be next. So those 2 are, in my view, the strongest 2. Now, a lot of people look at Dortmund and think they're probably the least likely to win it. And some people say that we're in that bottom rung as well, in terms of experience and stuff like that. So, yeah, Man City.
I can see your brain ticking away there thinking about it.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about the bookies rarely get it wrong, and the bookies have put us in as third favourites. So there's got to be a reason for that, and the reason being they've looked at everything, and they're playing the odds, which is what they do. And
is that where you'd put Arsenal?
Yes.
It's interesting as well because
although I think the one that I'm most wary of, if I had to tip anything, it would be Atletico Madrid.
It's interesting. Arsenal are one of only 3 teams that are currently top their respective domestic league. The other 2 being Real Madrid and PSG. So, in that sense, you could say Arsenal are third favourites.
Yeah, but then you look at PSG, and I don't think they've got too much competition in the French league. And the other aspect of it is when you look at Bayern, you think, okay, they're 10 points off the German league, so they've got to be weaker. But the flip side to that is when you're going for your own league, every game's a cup final, they're not going to win that league. So how do they save their season? The Champions League. If they win the Champions League, they've still had a fantastic season. So all their emphasis, all their effort, all their planning, and they'll potentially rest players the week before they're playing Arsenal, it almost puts us at more of a disadvantage that Bayern are out of their league.
And also there's the added motivation for Thomas Tuchel. This is last season, or so we're led to believe, Bayern manager. And secondly, and perhaps even more significantly, is the Harry Kane factor. Him rocking up at Bayern, never having won a trophy, up against Arsenal in the quarter-final. To me, that would be like the perfect storm.
I think it's a great thing at this moment in time. You know, look, we can just like, if we beat Bayern Munich, you know what I mean, we can sing the song, you've gone to Bayern Munich and you've won F all, you know what I mean, like, because that'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, it would be fantastic. And the positive side of me looks forward to singing that song. But then when you say, are you worried, it's almost impossible not to be worried. Imagine the scenario if they do beat us and he does score the winner, what we then have to endure.
Well, yeah.
Let's be honest, if you're a neutral, who would you make as a favourite? Try and take your rose-tinted Arsenal glasses off for a second. If you're a neutral and someone said, look, Arsenal versus Bayern, who's favoured to go through?
I would say that Bayern Munich would be favourites, even though the bookies haven't got them as favourites, by the way. Arsenal are second favourites at this moment after that draw, right? Which will change if we get through, like, you know, obviously, like, you know, because, you know, you're going to play Real Madrid or
even though let's face it, we struggled against Porto over the two legs.
Two things. I think, like, one reason I think that we got a chance to get more against Bayern Munich. Two reasons. I think a little bit of pressure's off us now because we've got one of the big boys. I think if we'd have gone out against Porto, there would have been a bit of disappointment. Like, Porto ain't really one of the teams that's going to win it. Bayern Munich, by the way, if they beat us, are capable of winning this competition.
Yep.
So I think that eases a little bit of pressure. And two, I think they'll come and play. I don't think that they will defend like a Porto, like an Atletico Madrid. So I think that may help us out a little bit and it be an entertaining game, and I think that we get a bit more space. The one thing that I think's against us, and I think that it was against us even against Porto, was the experience of Bayern Munich playing in this competition. I felt on Tuesday, I looked at Arsenal, even though I thought we were slightly the better team, I looked at them and thought like it was like a boxing match. They was the experienced boxer, they knew the tricks, they knew everything like that. Bayern Munich are going to know all that. And the one thing that when I say about Harry Kane that I fear is, I fear that Bayern Munich are not going to be that great, but they've still got him that can just nick a goal out of nothing. I don't know if...
Well, let's be honest, he's the best number 9 in the world.
I think he is. I think he's better than...
I think Mbappe's the best player in the world.
Yeah.
But, you could argue him and Haaland, but you could make a case for Harry Kane.
I think Haaland's probably the better goal scorer, if I'll be honest, but I think the better footballer, I think Harry Kane. I know that he's a few years older and everything like that, brings players into play a little bit more, and it has made Barcelona really better than what they probably were. Barcelona, by the way, only just scraped the league last season. Shouldn't have won it last season. If it being Dortmund should have won it last season. You know, messed up at the end, didn't they? But and I think that we've got a great. I don't fear Bayern Munich. If I'll be really honest, like, you know, I don't think it's the Bayern Munich that we played when they was a little bit more in their prime a few years back. And also, if you ever look at the team that we had going into that game to what the team we've got now, I feel a lot more confident.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things going on, as you quite rightly pointed out. There's the fact that Bayern, I think, were a better team, and that might be marginal. But what isn't marginal is that the Arsenal team today is far better than the Arsenal team were 7 years ago.
Yeah, totally
I think it's a very difficult game to call.
It is a difficult game to call.
But one thing I'll be more confident about is the fact that it will be a more entertaining game. And yes, our primary motivation of going to the game, whatever the game's going to be like, is to see Arsenal win. But you talked about the neutral, and I don't think the neutral would have really enjoyed the game that they saw, the two legs they saw, especially the first one, against Porto, because of the style of play that Porto employed. Whereas
you thought it was akin to cheating, didn't you? You've said that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was cheating.
Respectfully, I disagree, though. I think that, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like, you know, the kind of football that's going to... It's not the beautiful game, but listen, personally, I'm going to keep it 100. I thought their manager tactically outdid Arteta over the two games, if I'm being honest. Now, like I said, it wasn't the best. It wasn't eye-catching football. But in the second leg, I actually don't think they're as negative as a lot of people were portraying. I mean, if you look at the stats of that game, in terms of shots on goal, shots on target, it's very close between the two teams. And I just think that there were certain nuances that they adopted. That's what you get in the Champions League. I mean, it could be argued if you're a Porto, and you touched on this, Lee, we were talking about it off camera, why would you come and engage Arsenal in possession football when you know you haven't got the players to do it? So you kind of have to adapt your team accordingly, and that's what that manager did. Yeah. So I didn't have too much of a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with a lot of what you said. And also tactically, I would agree with you. He got the better of them, but especially in the first leg, and it was employed in the second leg as well. It was diving, and that is cheating. It's simulation.
It was bad in the second.
It wasn't as bad in the second leg. In the first leg, it was absolutely awful, which was more surprising because they're at home and you'd expect them to actually go for it and entertain their crowd. And the second part of football, in professional football, is it's supposed to be entertaining because that's how you ultimately, in the long term, earn your money and get yourself better players. And the majority of money that comes in from professional football now is in broadcast revenue. And if you look at the amount of money that comes in for the Portuguese league, it's about 167 million for broadcast rights. If you have a look at the Premier League, it's 1.6 billion. So if you just look at the entertainment value of the two teams, yes, they employed these negative tactics, and that's probably the only way that they had any chance of getting through. But if you don't entertain long term, then you're not going to get the money in. You're not going to be able to improve. So
yeah, but it's a different. The Portuguese league is a different ballpark to the Premier League, isn't it? Like
it absolutely is, and there's various different reasons for that. But one of them, and I'm not an expert on the Portuguese league, but I have seen Porto now at close hand, and if Porto are one of the better teams, which they are in the Portuguese league, and that's how they play, that to me is not entertainment, and I fully understand why not that many people want to watch Portuguese football.
Yeah, I
think you're being a bit harsh. I mean, listen, in the games,
that's the facts.
In the games preceding
against 167 million.
Yeah, but I think when they play Benfica, they're going to go at it, and I think at the end
they beat Benfica 5-0.
Arsenal you've got to take it as a compliment. Arsenal, he looked at that game, their manager, and I know you just said there, Laurie, that he got the better of him tactically,
I think he did, yeah.
Well, it's a lot easier to set up teams defensively than offensively. Of course it is. So so Arteta had to set his teams up offensively, where he was never going to change whether they went 0-0, 1-0 down. That which I give them that their flowers for that. But I thought that disciplinary wise of the tactics that they set out, they set it to the letter of the law and continued it all the way through. I also think from Arsenal's point of view, I watched Benfica versus Rangers the other day, and Rangers left themselves wide open at the back, got caught out and lost the game. I think Arsenal managed that game very, very well. They actually thought, well, we're not going to go gun-ho and leave ourselves open. If we have to go to penalties, we'll take it on the penalty. I don't know if you've seen all this there's been clips going about and all that. The goalkeeping coach took Raya away and told him exactly what he was going to do. The penalties have been practiced and everything like that. I felt that Arsenal said, right, okay, if it goes to penalties, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we got an advantage on this and everything like that. And I thought that the way we managed that game was really, really good from going into the future games.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you are right. We got the win, and you have to credit the manager and the players in getting the win. So listen, I'm not detracting from that. What I am saying, though, is that a lot of people, and with respect, Julian, I think you've kind of fallen into that category as well, are maybe just... There's a misconception that all Porto did was defend.
But no,
and I've got the stats from the game in front of me. And you may be surprised to learn that in terms of shots on target, we had 13, they had 10. Shots on target, we had 4, they had 3. Possession, 58% to 42. That is not... That is not representative of a team that just came here and played 2 blocks of 4.
I'll tell you what, I did
play low block.
I wasn't criticising...
And when I watched the game, I did observe that whenever they did get the ball, they were ambitious. They had 3-4 people up trying to. They were trying to win that game.
I'll tell you what they'd done, which was really, really good. Right? They were ambitious when it was right. What they did on a lot of occasions in that game, they went up to the wide. Right? They couldn't see an opening, and they went all the way back to the goalkeeper and kept it with the goalkeeper. Tried to get Arsenal to come out of position again and then go again. I actually quite admired that because what they was doing so they'd get up to a certain area of the field. Well, we haven't dislodged this Arsenal team like that. We go all the way back to the goalkeeper, try and frustrate and do that, and that's what they've done. And then eventually, when there was that opening, they went for it. Exactly. So I have to give them credit for that.
They were what I call a well-drilled team. They had lots of not very big guys, nippy, quick
work rate,
and they were good work rate, well drilled, and they'd done their homework on Arsenal. They nullified a lot of what we do, and for that you have to give them credit.
Yeah,
now we got the win in the end. We came through the sticky situation of the penalties. Let's be honest as well, that was helped by the fact that we're at home. Yeah. Most penalty shootouts are won by the team that are at home. We won the toss so that we could kick at an end was more favourable to us, and we won the toss to take the penalties first.
I always think that if you go when that we got the first penalty, I'm always more confident with the first penalty because the pressure builds up. Like, you know, I know Inter didn't do it the last game against Sheffield. They had a chance. They was going second, or was they going first? I can't remember now. Like, but it didn't work out. But I always think going first is a big thing, and get that first penalty. And I like what Arsenal done. They put, you know, their best penalty takers up, you know what I mean? Odegaard, who's a very good penalty taker, like, you know what I mean? Saka was in the first three. Normally they put one at the end and one at the beginning.
Well, I love the fact that Odegaard went first, because him being the captain, that sends out a good signal. And the fact that he took that on board. I mean, I've seen penalty shootouts where sometimes the captains don't even take penalties, which I always think is...
but I mean, just because the captain doesn't mean they're great.
No, I know, I'm just saying
but he is the captain, and he's great at penalties. But if we can just finish off the Porto stuff, I have no issues, and I have...
I can see you chomping at the bit.
And I have every respect for everything you said about the stats there, and that a lot of their play was impressive, which to me reinforces the fact that they then... If you're that impressive and you've got those skills, you don't have to rely on basically cheating. So it's the similar.
Where did they cheat in that game?
Because they.
Well, I don't remember them cheating in that game.
Because they were feigning injury to disrupt the game, and you don't need to. And that is simulation, which is cheating. On a number of occasions.
I thought Brentford did it, by the way.
I think Brentford.
Well, it's funny you should say that, but Brentford were accusing Kai Havertz of cheating. They said he should have got sent off in that game for simulation.
And I don't disagree with that either.
Well, do you think he should have been sent off then?
So
yes or no?
If it was a dive,
no, yes or no?
If it was a dive,
no, yes or no?
If it was a dive,
and you're having a go. Yeah, we've now put the scenario out there of Kai Havertz. Did he dive? Yes or no?
All right. If he dived, then yes, he should have been sent off.
No, he didn't ask if. He said, "Did you think he did?"
Okay. Yes. All right. I'm going to answer it. Yes, he dived, and yes, he should have been sent off. And
he ended up scoring the winner.
And
he ended up scoring the winner.
He ended up scoring the winner. But you asked me a direct question. Did Havertz dive?
I don't think he did dive.
In my view, I believe he dived. And if he did dive, and I'm correct, I think he should have been sent off. The other one who should have got booked as well, because this is what I had an issue with Thomas Frank coming out saying he should have got booked. Collins should have also got booked in that incident because he was giving the yellow card to the referee, telling him to get sent off. So he should absolutely have got a booking because there's no doubt he went up to the referee with his fake which is a booking. Now that is a definite booking. Whereas Kai
was he already booked? Was he?
He would have ended up with 2 bookings.
Yeah, so he'd have been off as well.
Okay,
but anyway, I mean, we're going back a little bit. But
but anyway, I do. You know, I can't be. You know, I have to say that if he dived, and I believe he did dive, but only Kai knows whether he dived or not, then it should have been a yellow card. He should have got sent off, in my view, because I can't, as you quite rightly pointed out, both of you, I can't go on and criticise Porto for doing one thing and Arsenal doing the same thing. So yes, I do believe.
I think it's okay to criticise, but when you accuse them of like blatant cheating, I think that's a bit strong.
For me, I think that. So it was more in the. It was more in the first game.
Yeah, I agree.
More in the first
I didn't see anything wrong with their play on the second game.
And they were better in the second game. But coming on to the penalties, there's two ways to look at the penalties now. I absolutely saw what the goalkeeping coach did at the end of the game.
At the game?
Yeah, no, not at the game, because I was too far away, but I've seen the replays. And the fact that instead of this huddle, which is great, let's all get together, the mentality is let's do something that's going to be effective.
Yeah, I was impressed by that.
And that was really impressive. The other aspect of it is people say that penalties are a lottery. Now, they're not a lottery, it's part of football. It is an absolute skill. And Arsenal looked dominant in that.
Agreed.
Yeah,
they did look dominant in that. But we did have 2 or 3 elements of luck go our way. First of all, both tosses in our favour, which is a 25% chance of that happening. Second part was that the one that he saved to begin with, I don't know if you've seen the replay, but hit the post, but the angle of his legs
stops it going in.
If his legs were straight, which you'd expect when you dive, as a goalkeeper, obviously I know this, if you dive as a goalkeeper, normally your legs are straight. For some reason, his legs were bent. Now, if his legs had been straight, that would have rebounded him straight back into the goal. So we did have an element of luck. So for all, the great things about us getting to the quarterfinals, when it gets to penalties, there is an element of luck in the penalties, and it went all our way.
And I always say this when people go, "Oh, yeah, you're champions of Europe and all that." You have to have a little bit of luck in cup competition, right?
Yeah, you do have to have a little bit of luck. But let's be honest, all the Arsenal penalties were executed very well.
Brilliant.
So I think we did.
Did you enjoy the penalty shootout?
Sorry?
Did you enjoy the penalty shootout?
Yeah, we had a little huddle here in the studio. Yeah.
Did you, Julian?
No, I didn't enjoy any of it.
It was nervy. It was
nerve-wracking. I didn't enjoy the game one bit. I didn't enjoy the obviously until we won, it was like, I think, relief. Like, my energy was sapped after that game. I really took it out of me. I don't know how you felt.
I was saying that after that game, I mean, we've had, let's face it, the Brentford game was quite a hard game as well. And
two tough
games. So this break now has probably come at a good time. And of course, we all know what's coming up next. So it was good to go into the break off the back of those 2 wins. And obviously, that win set us up nicely for this quarter-final against Bayern, which I must say I'm really looking forward to.
It's going to be a great game, a great occasion.
Yeah, it is. But there's something people have been saying, and I think some people here have said it, that the 2 games against Brentford and Porto have been really good for us, because they were so close and we had to become competitive. But I don't see it like that. I see it's much better that we're smashing teams 5 or 6-0.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I've had that conversation with a few Arsenal fans as well. And I'm going to disagree respectfully with you, and I'll tell you why. Because in sport, as you know, it's all right. You're familiar with the term flat track bullies. And when you've been beating teams up, although that is good,
what's
flat track bully?
No, it's not.
Basically, just means that you're bullying teams. You're beating them up every time you play a team. You're beating them 4-3.
The lesser teams.
Yeah. It started from cricket. That term. You'll be familiar with that term. But anyway, so you can get into that psyche of overconfidence, and to the point where you play a team, you're expecting to win, which is good. But then because you've been beating everyone up,
you're not being tested.
Yeah, you're not being battle hardened. You're not. So when you do come up against a more resilient team that do test you, then all of a sudden you're in that situation. Oh, I'm not used to thinking like this. I'm used to everything going my way. So every now and again, you do need to be reminded.
I agree.
You know what I mean? This is I personally, I'm okay with the 2 games being tough.
I mean, and I cannot disagree with what you said. It does set you up that when it's tough.
Yeah, because when we play City, we're not going to beat them 4-5.
Yeah, it's like, that's what boxers go into sparring, so that they can get used to that. We need that. I don't necessarily. I know what Julian's going to say. If we'd have won 5-0, rested everybody, it might have been a little bit different going into that game. But I think we've needed these couple of games.
It's a dose of realism, because like I said, you're not going to beat everyone like that, and we've got some pretty big games coming up, to say the least. And those teams are not going to roll over.
I'll tell you what, with the rest now, I think it's come. I don't know about you, but I feel it's come at a good time. It's come at a good time. I looked at that extra time and I could see a few of us jaded. Like Declan Rice has been absolutely unbelievable. Like, but you could see he was just fading towards the end of that game.
Saka, Saka, he was off the pace.
Saka was off it a little bit. Like, we've got now a couple of weeks to get Martinelli back into the frame, which I think him missing these last two games is no coincidence. We struggled in the last couple of games. Like, you know, I think.
I mean, shout out to Trossard. I think that game in many ways kind of summed up Trossard. There are some games when Trossard plays, you think, come on, bro, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's the game's passing you by.
Get him off, I was saying.
And then he pops up with an unbelievable finish, which is what he did in that game. We are definitely missing Martinelli's potency.
Yeah, and I've got to say that, you know, let's talk about the game. Martin Odegaard for the goal. I've seen it. Oh my God, it's breathtaking. It's absolutely breathtaking.
But he makes it look easy.
Oh, I know he does. He makes it very easy.
Like
you know what I've said about Martin Odegaard on the stream? I said, Martin Odegaard, right, if he wasn't a professional footballer, with the engine and the cardio that he's got, he could probably be a long 5K or 10K runner or a marathon runner. Because seriously, that guy never stops running.
He's unbelievable. His work rate is just unbelievable. And that, you know, I don't think, if I'll be really honest with you, he's got the skills and that in his locker of an Ozil, I think, but he's close. I'm not saying he is, but he just overtakes Ozil in me for every other.
And you know what else I like about him, and I'm sure you guys have noticed, he's always wanting the ball, and that sends out a big signal to the rest of the team. You can see him.
How good?
Give me the ball.
How good a signing has he been for us? I think, like, you know, he's got to be up there, isn't he? 35 billion.
Yeah, and at the time, people were criticising because we went for him when we could have had Maddison. And I'm not saying Maddison isn't a good player, but he is. But Odegaard, for me, is far more effective. He's far better. And
different types of player, but I see.
And there's also no doubt he's far more available than Maddison. The other aspect,
I think Maddison's better at darts.
Yeah, I mean, the other aspect of being a professional footballer is your availability.
Yeah, well,
I mean, look at Partey. You know, I don't think anyone here would disagree he's a brilliant footballer, but he's not a brilliant footballer if he's never played.
No. As happens, you've been a better footballer than him over the last 5 months. You know what I mean? No, that is true. That is true, you know what I mean? So, because he's been injured.
Yeah, but so have I.
You know. Yeah. Let's talk about, while we're on it then, let's talk about what's the matter with your shoulder.
I'll tell you what, if Partey is fit and available, it would be great to...
going to need him, Laurie.
Against the likes of Bayern. We're going to need players like that. Yeah, because a fit Partey enhances Arsenal, no doubt about it.
Oh, without a doubt.
So, you know, if we can get back to anywhere near his best, we'll take that all day long, because Bayern, that is going to be a difficult game.
Is your shoulder going to be all right for Bayern?
I sincerely hope so. It's another reason, well, not the primary reason I shouldn't have gone to Dubai, but another reason why I shouldn't have gone to Dubai. Obviously, the primary reason is that I missed the West Ham game, but the other reason was I decided to go to the water park there, and I stood on this rather high ledge, which is about 6 metres, where you dive in. I don't know if you've been to that water park.
Yeah.
And I thought there was a lot of people watching, so my ego sort of took over. And I said to the guy, should I just dive head first? The guy said, no, you don't want to dive head first. That's against the rules. He goes, you just jump feet first. So I thought, all right, I'll jump feet first. And I jumped, and it seemed a lot further than it looked from looking up at it. And I got a little bit scared and went, like that. And my arm hit the water at some force. And I hurt.
So you belly flops?
No, I didn't belly flop. I more shoulder flopped. And since then, I've had a lot of aggravation. I had an MRI scan, and apparently it's done quite a bit of cartilage damage. So I had an injection yesterday, which hopefully will sort it out. So I'll be able to play for Arsenal in the not too distant future.
I think you've got to start realising that you know the ambitious days, daredeviling side of you is over, Julian.
Like, but mentally they're not. That's the issue. The body can't keep up with it, but the brain still thinks I'm 16.
I was just thinking while you were saying all that, and it's not related to that, by the way. It's somebody contacted me this morning, and they put a question to me. and they said, "Okay, you've seen the draw, Laurie. Champions League or Premier League? If it could only be one, which one do you want?" Before I say what
I'm not going to say. I'll tell you that when people ask me this question, I think the league is always the one to win. Like, you know what I mean. But from a purely selfish view, I've never seen us win the Champions League. You know what I mean. So obviously, I'd love to see us do that.
Champions League's at Wembley this year. Right?
Yeah. Champions League's at Wembley.
Gives it a extra added.
I'm going to say it now. What I feel after the draw, people might think I'm silly after this. I think it's easier to win the Champions League at this moment in time than the Premier League. And I'll tell you why, is I think that we can, in the Champions League, we can win 3 games and draw 2 and win the Champions League. I don't think we got 10 games in the Premier League. I think to win the Premier League, I think we're going to have to win 9 of them.
Could well be.
Yeah, well, if you
that's tough.
If you look at the odds, they're very similar. From, well, I mean, I looked at them before the draw, but it's about 5 to 1 on the Champions League, and I looked at, they had this sort of Opta supercomputer, and they looked at the 3 teams that are obviously going for the league: Arsenal, City, and Liverpool. And even though Arsenal are first, they only gave Arsenal an 18.8% chance of winning the league, which I found quite strange. But a lot of it is down to what you said, is the fixtures that we've got, is what they're assessing is that all 3 teams will do phenomenally well and that they'll hardly drop any points. But if you had to pick it, Arsenal have got slightly the harder fixtures.
I would probably agree with that. I think as well, for number one, I've got to say that title race is amazing. You got the 3 best teams in the country by some distance, in my view. And I reckon it could go down to the last weekend. I really do. Because even that City-Arsenal game, that could obviously go one of 3 ways.
What are you saying you want?
Oh, right. In terms of... I'm with you. I think the Premier League is your bread and butter.
We've all seen Arsenal win the Premier League. Let's get that right.
We haven't seen it for 20
but what I'm saying is I would rather us win the Premier League. If I was given the choice of the 2 Premier League, and the reason for it is that is your bread and butter. That's
I agree. I'm with you 100%.
And it would seem somewhat incongruous, if I may use that term, to win.
Do you know what incongruous means?
No, do you?
No.
Odd. It kind of means a little bit odd. In this context, a little bit weird to call yourselves champions of Europe, but yet you couldn't be champions of your own country.
I'm totally with you. I'm totally...
as much as I would... don't get me wrong, if we don't win the league, then give me the Champions League all day long. But if I had a choice, if they said you can have one or the other, for me, Premier League.
I'm 100% with this, because I've always said this, you know what I mean, like, the Champions League's a cup competition. It's not necessarily the best team wins the cup.
Remember Chelsea won it a few years ago.
Chelsea won it when they was like 6th in the league, or 5th.
And Liverpool won it.
Liverpool won it in 2005 when they was...
even lower. That's changed the rules to get them back into it.
Yeah, do you remember? Yeah, they did. That's right.
Yeah, I think Everton ended up missing out.
Because...
And I must admit, we know why they do it, but I've always found it, again, a little bit incongruous, slightly strange that you can get teams that finish 4th. And yet, you know, I mean, they go on and win the Champions League. I think, really? I mean, you finish 4th in your domestic league. Come on now. Champions, really?
Well, so, you know...
And we know the reason why they do that.
We're not champions, are we? We're in it from being second.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean?
But then every champion of every league is in it. So I still think it's an accurate description, but league isn't. I have no issue with the word champions, but when they say league, it's not really a league, is it? It's not like...
I liked it when I don't know why I know it's Champions League because it's the league in that first bit there, but it is a European Cup, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a European Cup.
And I don't care what anybody says, in my opinion, this is only me speaking, in my opinion, is that it's got exciting as soon as the knockout stages come. I don't really, you know, I've not been, you know, like everybody's going, oh, it's great to be back in the Champions League. The first time I got excited about the Champions League was when the knockout draws come, like, and the knockouts now. Yeah.
Well, we all know that the peripheral stuff is all about finance.
Yeah, it's all about money. All about money. It totally is.
The way it's all structured is to get as many games as possible.
And now you've got an extra game next year, innit?
I mean, next year, with the coefficient points that they award, it could mean that we get 5 teams in the Champions League. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could play out that way based on the performances of our teams in Europe. If we get the most coefficient points, we could have 5 teams in the Champions League next year. That just seems a bit weird. 5 teams. That's just...
Well, I remember when it was only 1, and then it was 2, wasn't it? Do you remember, that weren't so
1, 2 at the absolute most for me.
I think Man United won it in. When you think about it, Man United won in '99, not winning the league. They weren't champions going into that competition. As far as I'm concerned, the footballing side of me will always say the Premier League, but because I haven't won Arsenal haven't won the Champions League in my lifetime, I'm going to have to be a little bit selfish and go down that route. What about you, Julian?
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you.
Yeah,
but I'm so close. But because it's at Wembley, I think that's what just tips it in the balance. That if we win it, every other season I'd rather win the Premier League. But because I've never seen it in my lifetime, it would have to be the Champions League. And the other aspect of it is that what you can then do if you win the Champions League, because the extra revenue, the extra sponsorship that can come in, you can then strengthen even more for the next season. So it sets you up, I think, even more. I mean, obviously winning the Premier League is fabulous financially, but to win the Champions League, I think probably just edges it as well.
It's a great point. I think in terms of the glamour of winning the Champions League probably supersedes winning the Premier League. But I still think the Premier League. And it's interesting because myself and Robbie was when we got to the Champions League final back in 2006 in Paris. Myself and Robbie went, and that was an amazing occasion. Even though we lost, I still remember that day like it was yesterday. So imagine winning it at Wembley as well in your own country. It would be fantastic.
Would you prefer to win it at Wembley or abroad?
I'd rather win it at Wembley.
Yeah, I must say, winning it in your own country, I think it's something special.
I'm with you on this. As much as I want to go abroad and everything like that, and I love it, to win it at Wembley would be unique, wouldn't it?
But the other thing I remember about Paris, I don't know how you got there, but we drove there on the day. I think we met something like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and we drove. And by the time we actually got to the game, I was so excited, obviously, and there was adrenaline going, but I remember starting to feel quite tired.
Right.
Whereas Wembley's only sort of 20 minutes up the road for me.
I must admit, when me and Robbie went, we were probably the only 2 Arsenal fans I came across that were sober. but yeah, it was. I can remember it. Like I said, I met Arsenal fans from all over the world.
That's what's
and it was a great occasion. Pity we couldn't get the win, but we did perform creditably.
Yeah,
against at that time a Barcelona team that was doing.
Listen, if we do get past Bayern Munich, it's Real Madrid or Man City. Say if we do, well,
let's assume we do for one second.
Just say we do. We're through.
Yeah.
Right. Who do you want?
Out of those two, I want Man City, and there's a reason for that.
Well,
and the reason is that if they go out, getting back to the Premier League, I think they've got more chance of winning the Premier League. So I want them still in it into the semi-finals purely for that reason. I think we've got as much chance of beating Manchester City as we've got Real Madrid.
That's a great point, and I think like Liverpool fans will be thinking like they wouldn't mind Arsenal getting through and Man City so they can bash each other up while that's going on.
This has been the best draw for Liverpool.
Best draw for Liverpool, but now I'm desperate for both of them teams to go through in the FA Cup at the weekend, and then bash each other up in a semi-final, like to sort of counteract that a little bit. I think I'm definitely cheering on Liverpool to beat Man United, and I'm definitely cheering on Manchester City to beat Newcastle because I want them two to have another game and then bash each other up a little bit. But what about yourself, Laurie?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I do see where you're coming from in terms of the two of them bashing each other up. Yeah, I'll have some of that. But I must say, listen, to me, Man City, I've said it previously in the show, are the strongest team. Do
you think Man City beat Real Madrid? Yes or no? Lauren?
Tight game, but I do think.
Julian?
Yeah.
So if we get through, we're going to go Man City, is that what you think?
I mean, it took Man City a while to really...
and they would be favourites over 2 leagues, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Man City.
Yeah, I fancy us to more at Wembley on a one-off occasion than over 2 leagues. If I'd be really honest.
Yeah, I think they would be. From a selfish perspective, being a fan and having to travel there, I still think, I'm not a fan of the M6, but it's a lot closer than Madrid, so we could go up and back in a day rather than sort of.
We're not going to stay in Manchester for the night.
Oh, we probably would. Well, it's a Wednesday night, isn't it?
Well, Wednesday. I think if it's Champions League, you're going to have to, and you're like, I mean, it could go late on.
Yeah. Although the flip side to that, thinking as a fan now, rather than kind of just as on a footballing perspective, is we quite like our trips away, don't we?
Yeah. Well, we could ask Robbie. Yeah. We could actually ask Robbie, right? If we do actually get to the, semi-final, that we fly to Manchester, so it would be a little bit like we feel like we're going.
Charter a private jet, mate.
Do you reckon, let's, instead of driving up, let's fly up there and
charter a private jet.
You know what I mean? Do you think you'd go along with that, or
no?
I'll drive. No stops. No stops.
But it's interesting.
Oh, come on, Madrid.
You're talking about Liverpool and that bashing lumps out of each other and Man City, but maybe Madrid and City will bash lumps out of each other.
Well, as I say, I think at the end of it, Liverpool will be looking at it and going that they've got a lovely little draw in the Europa League.
Yeah, was it Atlanta or someone?
Yeah, and then they missed out on...
Got Atalanta.
Atalanta, and then they I think it's Benfica or Marseille in the semi-final. So they're looking like that they're going to get to the final of that. They're on for the quadruple, by the way, at this moment in time. Liverpool, you have to give them the credit, and they look at that and think, well, that's so somewhere along the line, they've got to be bashed up in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. Look, if it's Man City versus Liverpool, I'd want Liverpool to beat them in the semi-final. But I want that to be the draw. I don't want that to be the final when everything's sort of done and dusted. You know what I mean? Like, I want that before. So I think Liverpool will be pleased that, I think the two toughest teams, I think realistically, Man City and Real Madrid have both, when that draw have come out, have both gone, ugh.
Yeah, I agree.
Ugh.
I agree.
Didn't want that, you know what I mean? Like, they're front it, but at the end of the day, I think if you speak to Man City fans and Real, they did not want each other.
No.
And they will both look at it and think that they've got a easier route in the semi-final and they had the quarter-final. So
yeah.
No,
so
I think you're right.
We've gone up to the Etihad, last-minute winner. We've done it. We're in the final. Who do you want in the final if we get there?
I don't care, but
Barcelona for revenge.
But looking at the teams on the other side, I mean, we know we're going to get tickets for that. So I think having Barcelona in our Barcelona-Arsenal final it's something special. But it's going to be special anyway. It just puts that extra little bit of gloss on it.
I'm wanting Barcelona for the revenge thing at Wembley.
Absolutely.
Bosh, let's have it.
Yeah, and I think we would be going in as favourites against Barcelona. We'd have home advantage. You can't say they're not a great team because they are, but they're not nearly at the level that they were when we played them.
You say home advantage in that. The draw went like we've got home, and then for the next one we're in the away dressing rooms. We've got like home, and then so we've got to go away in both legs, and then we're.
But if you're going to win a competition,
you've got to beat the best teams.
You've got to beat the best teams. You're going to come up against situations that test you.
One thing, like people will be saying, look at you being arrogant, like you've already plotted your way to the final and all that. Like, I think you're allowed to dream. Surely we're in the quarterfinals and we're allowed to dream about it because we put ourselves in this position now. Like, you know what I mean? We all know that Barcelona's going to be a tough arse. There's no two ways about it. Like,
But listen, we've got a hard ask again. There were people who occupy well-established positions in media, saying that off the back of us going life and death with Porto, that we are probably the least qualified to win the Champions League out of the 8 teams. That's what I've heard people like Jason Cundy and 1 or 2 other people, Jamie O'Hara on TalkSport, saying we are the weakest team.
They're very bitter.
Yeah, exactly. So, but there are people out there saying that we are not in any way amongst the favourites, even though the bookies say we're 3rd or 4th favourites.
My mate phoned up today, Spurs fan. Oh my God. He said, like, he's a lover of Harry Kane, so he's watched a lot of football, watched a lot of Bayern Munich. He says, I think you're going to beat them. And he goes, and I just got this horrible feeling that you're going to beat Man City. Oh, he goes, and then I'm going to move to the moon.
But he must be used to living on the moon.
Because this could, they're worried. You know what I mean? And I think that's the great thing is that we're in it.
Yeah.
No one can deny it. We're in the quarterfinals. It's something to look forward to. We've got a nice little break
I think it's a 50-50 game, but obviously as an Arsenal fan, I'm edging towards us. But
you're backing the Arsenal.
I'm backing the Arsenal, but just to sort of finish off the point you made about being arrogant for kind of plotting our way to the final, is that they're setting us up to dream because they're giving us the route to the final. The fact that they've done the draw,
for the
even to the extent of which dressing room we'll be in for Wembley.
You
know, in my mind,
it's like,
I don't need much encouragement to be dreaming about. I think it's June the 1st, isn't it?
Yeah.
About June the 1st, of planning my route to Wembley. How am I going to get there? Am I going to take the car? Am I going to ride my bike? Am I going to go in a Uber? How am I going to actually get there? I've gone into that sort of finer detail, but now UEFA have kind of done the draw in this way. It just reinforces that fantasy. So they're setting us up to fantasise.
Yeah, and rightly so, right. Now we'll come to the end of the show, but before we go to the end of the show, we've got our comment of the day. Like, have you got your comments for the day now? Obviously, Laurie hasn't got his.
I forgot my glasses. I might. Do you want to go first?
I'll go first. This is it's come from Lee Vella. Nothing to do with because his name's Lee as well. Like this show is quickly becoming a comedy routine. Couldn't stop giggling. Cheers, guys. Never change, please.
Props.
Well, we have
changed, haven't we?
It's a bit irrelevant now, like, you know what I mean? We've got rid of Rob. We got rid of Robbie and put someone better on. I think that, like, Laurie's better, don't you? Like, come on, put it in the comments. Who do you think's better, like, you know what I mean, Laurie or Robbie?
No, I don't think Robbie's worse than Laurie at all. I think Laurie's excellent, but Robbie is by far the best. Brilliant host. Not that you've not done badly, but he's just unbelievably good. Robbie. Right, on to my...
Mate, he's sick, doesn't he?
The talent abounds.
Yes. That's because he slagged him off downstairs off camera, by the way. Just saying.
I got in late, so I didn't slag him.
Oh, that was another thing, like, because you got in late. You said, because Robbie ain't here, I can take the winkle.
Okay, so...
What are you doing that for?
Because I can't read without my glasses.
Well,
I have to put
your contacts in, yeah?
Yeah, this is for long-sighted, for reading. So I've got reading glasses and I'm short-sighted.
You're short-sighted, is it? You know what I mean? Like, it's not good for you, is it?
Well, I'm 6 foot. We established that last week.
6 foot on Tinder. That went down well, I tell you.
Yeah. Okay.
Go on. It's going to be about you, I know.
Well, it's not exactly about me.
Go on in.
All right, it starts off, love Julian.
All right, that's it. Anyway, thanks for that. We come to the end of the show now. Like, you know.
And then it says, makes the show perfect. This is the bit we'll have to speak about. It's like the good, the bald, and the ugly. So I can only assume that I'm the good.
I'll be good. You can figure out the other two between yourself.
I'm assuming that I'm the good from the fact that it starts off, love Julian.
What are you saying?
It's not my comment. I just happened to pick it out. It says the bald and the ugly. So...
Well, they're obviously not referring to me because I've not been on the show.
Although
you and Robbie can fight that out between yourselves.
Okay.
What do you mean, me and Robbie? I think Julian's going to have to come into the equation as well.
No, but I mean, it could be me. I could be ugly, and I am bald. But it just does start, love Julian.
Yeah.
And
who was that from?
Julian.
Can you read that? It's the top one.
It's from Madhu Krotz 9384.
Oh well.
At Madhu Krotz 9384.
Big
up Madhu Krotz.
And there was one more which wasn't necessarily about me. Okay, it kind of does start with my name, but it's more of...
Go on.
All right, okay. Julian just described perfectly how and why 95% of Arsenal fans are so passionate about the club. We're living our football dreams through the Arsenal, which I thought was and listen, we'll leave it on that note. Like we are at the moment, like what an enjoyable. Let's be honest. Since coming back from Dubai, you know, since we was away that time in January, it's been
Why do you think Robbie's gone back out there? He's trying to find some of that magic.
Some of the players have gone back.
He's trying to find some of that magic.
A few days. I don't know what the players are going to do. Just quickly, just one briefly before we finish up. Good or bad this break for us?
Good.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, have a nice break now, a little bit of a rest up, and we go in a couple of weeks' time. So guys, we've come to the end of the show. Hope you've enjoyed it. Obviously not the same without Robbie from Dubai. We're going to have to say sorry, Laurie.
No, listen, you know what? Great to be on the show. Love appearing with you guys. Thanks for the opportunity, man. Thanks everybody for watching.
No worries, and thanks for everybody. Julian, you got any last minute thoughts you want to say? Do you want to say goodbye to everybody and your obviously big fan base out there now, that love you?
Julian groupies.
Yeah, I miss you, Robbie.
We're out of here.
The Invincible podcast. Myself, Robbie, and Lee Judges come together once a week to discuss all things Arsenal. Straight talking, considered discussion, brought to you by the fans of the only club in Football League history to go invincible.